Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and today we are finally reviewing Westside Gunn's new album, And Then You Pray For Me. This is, of course, the spiritual successor to Westside Gunn's 2020 album, Pray For Paris. That is, in my opinion, Westside Gunn's best album. That is the best Griselda album of all time, and my 2020 album of the year. So, of course, he had high expectations on this. And I know a lot of the fans feel he did not live up to that. Obviously, it doesn't reach the highs of Pray For Paris, but this is still a very special and important Westside Gunn album to me. First of all, this is bigger than him. And Then You Pray For Me doesn't just encapsulate Westside Gunn's career or the Griselda movement. This is about everything in hip-hop that made Westside Gunn, and that is apparent. Of course, DJ Drama's here. You see Trapaholics are here, Jeezy's here, and you could see that is Westside Gunn paying some homage maybe to the music he grew up on when he was on the block in the 2000s, Sly and Doe. Maybe that's what he was bumping. He's got everyone you'd expect to be here, all the producers and all the rappers that have made the Griselda movement so special, the people that encapsulate that, he's bringing that together. And not only that, he is bringing trap music into the Griselda fold and making it his own. And I know people didn't like it or whatever, but if there's one thing you have to give Westside Gunn credit for, it is for bringing in trap beats and trap rappers that fit the Griselda aesthetic. Even if you don't enjoy Westside Gunn on trap beats, there is no doubt that he put in the effort to make the trap songs on here his own. And again, talking about what this album encapsulates, this is also Westside Gunn innovating. And I know some people might be like, oh, in what way? But you see him putting artists on here like ESTG, like Peasy, like Denzel Curry. All these young, up-and-coming rappers are getting not only are they getting the Griselda stamp of approval, which is a big deal for trap rappers like ESTG and Peasy, they are getting verified as good street rappers by the best street rappers out right now, but he is creating that future sound of hip-hop. He is throwing his hat into the ring for what he wants and maybe even what he thinks the music is going to sound like going forward. And there are a lot of artists who, when they make albums, don't take that into account because they are focused on making albums about themselves or that encapsulate one certain thing. And that's okay, but Westside Gunn is clearly here using his past and his influence to build to a future. Another good example is putting a young up-and-comer like Casey on the outro, And Then You Pray For Me. Even though Westside Gunn is nowhere to be found on the track, he does a great job of bringing the spacey, atmospheric vibe that Casey has to the gritty and elegant world of Griselda. This vision, this big thing Westside Gunn is going for also just encapsulates the current state of hip-hop, again, by bringing in a lot of the rappers that I've been talking about, by seeing some trap and some grime influence on certain songs. And finally, another thing that I wanted to talk about before we really get, into the meat and potatoes of And Then You Pray For Me, is everything Westside Gunn does for the culture here. This album is about the culture, and in every way I just mentioned before, those are all reasons why this album is for the culture. Westside Gunn is here filling gaps in logic, giving the fans stuff that they know they want. For example, take Coasters. You got the Griselda Big Three, Westside, Benny, Conway. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is a big deal. Anytime these three hop on a track, it's excellent. But instead of giving us another cut from the three, he innovates and crosses over the respect and the prominence that comes with a track like that, with a mainstream but also notably gritty and hard producer like Tay Keith to do the beat. And now we got the Big Three over a hard-ass trap beat, something that maybe nobody asked for, but everyone wanted and loves. This is one of the most popular songs off of the album. And that is just a great example of how good of a curator and visionary Westside Gunn is here, where this is one of multiple instances where we see a track that is him unifying and connecting different subgenres and different pockets of hip-hop music and hip-hop culture. Also, I am not going to talk too much about the lyrical content on this album. For those of you guys who have listened to Griselda before, you get why, you know what you're getting, especially with Westside Gunn, who lyrically and content-wise is a couple pegs below Benny and Conway, as great as he is. But for those of you guys who haven't listened to Westside Gunn, this is your introduction, your first project. Westside Gunn is always coming through talking about designer brands, selling dope. He's dropping hella esoteric flexes, and he's always rapping about that gang banging and regular banging life too. Of course, he uses different literary elements to get this across. He got good metaphors at points and uses good vocabulary, but I'm not gonna bring that up on every track since the content throughout this album is pretty fucking standard and doesn't change much. The intro track, Fly God Did, of course features a spoken word from Griselda in-house poet and spoken word artist A.A. Rashid. He typically does the intros for Westside Gunn albums, so it's no surprise seeing him here. I'm not going to break down everything he says, but I am going to use this track to make the final important point I have before we discuss the songs on the album. In his verse, A.A. Rashid compares And Then You Pray For Me to a finely crafted garment that would appear at Paris Fashion Week. And that is exactly how I look at this album, not as like a piece of clothing, right? But this album there's a physical component to it that obviously you can't see, but you know it's there. And it is because this album is so layered and so textured with love and appreciation for hip-hop culture. And there's so many different elements on this album that make it more than just a collection of songs. Obviously, that could be said about a lot of albums, but And Then You Pray For Me is more than just a collection of songs. Like I said, this is bigger than Westside Gunn. This is bigger than Griselda. This is Westside Gunn's love letter to hip-hop in a way, to me. It is like a conclusatory statement, a thesis. This is Westside Gunn's statement on where we're at right now and his contributions to it, and also a little bit of him signing off from being the professional curator. He's alluded that this might be his final major release. Obviously, time will tell, but if so, he did go out on a pretty great note in terms of stuff like that. But yeah, And Then You Pray For Me, physically manifest it. Look at this album. Don't just listen to it. The first handful of tracks I want to discuss are the ones where Westside Gunn is doing something culturally significant. He is bringing something new or important to the table, something that indicates his vision for the future of hip-hop, something that is him bridging eras past and present, anything like that. These are the tracks we want to talk about because I think it is important to acknowledge the way that Westside Gunn uses his music. Someone like Drake uses his music to give different younger artists platforms and a place to shine. I've always respected that. And Westside Gunn does that too. And of course, his platform is nowhere near as big, right? Not even close, right? But these artists that he does give that to get the Griselda rub. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But kicking it off with Mama's Primetime. Now, I know we've heard Conway the Machine and JID on Scatterbrained before in 2021. Conway the Machine's album La Machina, a fantastic song if you haven't heard. But this is Westside Gunn fulfilling a need because this is Jid on like a real Griselda track. No disrespect to Scatterbrained, right? But that wasn't a very stereotypical Griselda type of song. This is JID over a fucking hard and eerie, a more slowed down boom bap instrumental produced by Beat Butcher and Mr. Green. Never would have expected to hear Jid working with Beat Butcher, to be honest, but of course I love this song, everyone else does. Westside Gunn's flows on here are excellent, which I will say, because it will get repetitive, Westside Gunn flows great throughout this whole album as well. I mentioned his lyrics were great throughout. His flow is pretty pristine on a lot of these tracks as well. He struggles at times later on, but for the most part, Gunn is in solid form here. Conway the Machine also gives a great performance on the back end, but JID is really the star of the show. His verses, if it's not a round, it's got to be over a minute long. I mean, he's rapping more slow and meditative, which we don't always get to see from JID, and it's a nice switch up. It gives more impact to his punchlines. His delivery is a lot more meditative and careful, it feels like, where Jid's normally on the track rapping real fast, coming across intense. He is calm here, just giving you bars on bars on bars like you'd expect. On the outro, we also get an aggressive tap dancing performance from Cartier A. Williams, who also has an aggressive tap dancing outro to correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Lady Jolba off of Pray for Paris. This is A, consistency from Pray for Paris to And Then You Pray For Me. I think it's also a not necessarily a callback, but I think it's a slight little reference, maybe Easter egg to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, another major mainstream album to utilize tap dancing in the narrative storytelling of the album. On this track, we also see the start of the yeah, yeah refrain that kind of continues throughout the whole album. You'll notice Westside Gunn will say yeah, yeah a lot. I think of this as kind of like the mantra for the album because you'll see other artists hit it too. Any significance? Not really, but again, it's one of those things. Consistency. Now, Coast, as I mentioned before, it's got the Tay Keith beat. We know why this track is culturally significant. We understand the importance of this and even the impact it might have going forward for someone like Tay Keith and who he's willing to work with. but also for Zelda artists and where they might go sonically and creatively. Westside Gunn has the weakest performance here. I will say it's not the greatest, but Conway, amazing, of course, and Benny the Butcher delivers a Hart Trophy level performance here, easily one of the best features on the album. Those of you guys who don't know, the Hart Trophy is really just the Connor McDavid Award. It's awarded to the MVP of the NHL at the end of every season. House of Glory is another significant track because here we get production from none other than RZA. Now again, not only is RZA featuring on a Westside Gunn, not only is RZA producing a Westside Gunn song culturally significant just because it's the fucking RZA, right? Like, you got that. And first of all, let me just say this instrumental is elegant and lush and one of the most beautiful beats on the whole album. RZA killed it. And then we get some amazing Westside Gunn and Stove God Cooks performances throughout the album, like you do. For those of you guys who don't know, Stove God Cooks signed to the Griselda imprint. The last couple of years, he's kind of been like Westside Gunn's tag team partner. He appears on a few tracks on every new Westside Gunn record. I will say, he is dominant here. He is all over And Then You Pray For Me. And circling back to the cultural significance, RZA, of course, Wu-Tang Clan legend, produced the entirety of one of the best rap albums of all time, Only Built for Cuban Links. That is, of course, Raekwon's album. But that album would not only be nothing without RZA, it would be nothing without Ghostface Killah's contributing verses and energy throughout the album, as it's kind of like an unspoken collab album. I feel kind of similar about this, where we got Westside Gunn and Stove God together a bunch, and both of them are honestly fucking excellent. Like, they really do feel like they're the Ghost and Ray of the 2020s. I might get slandered, I might get hate for saying that. I'm not saying they're as good. Obviously, Ghost and Ray are legends and surpass both of them. But what they're doing on here is very reminiscent of that. So having a RZA placement on here, again, it's just the layers to it, you know? It's just the layers that Westside Gunn put into this album. Stove God Cooks has a amazing chorus too. Both him and Westside Gunn sound the most passionate on the album on this track. They're both accentuating their vocals more than they normally do, and it's definitely one of the best tracks on the album, in my opinion. 1989 is a track where we see Westside Gunn taking influence, obviously, from the Houston scene, DJ Screw in particular. This song has that chopped and screwed sound. It is very dark, very syrupy. Westside Gunn, his vocals are slowed down and pitched all the way down, as the first half of this song, very hazy, a little trippy. It's got the clear vibe that Westside was trying to execute. Stove God Cooks on the back half, it's the same instrumental, but there's no layering on his voice. He sounds fine, and he gives a great performance. And I think that for what this track is and what it represents, it's great. And like I said, the layers. There's a whole track dedicated paying homage to DJ Screw here. This is also in the album the first time we get DJ Drama to appear. He is on here a bunch, of course, dropping quotable one-liners and screaming into the mic as he does. DJ Drama's been on a pretty huge resurging run the last year and a half or so, really ever since he did Call Me If You Get Lost with Tyler, and him being here, again, reflects Westside Gunn trying to encapsulate the entire hip-hop culture right now, because he'd been done tapes with DJ Drama before, and this isn't quite a Gangsta Grillz tape, but his presence here is important and significant. Dunhill with Rick Ross is the best of the Westside Gunn trap songs here. Everyone seems to hate them. I'm gonna try to stop bringing that up because it's not about, I don't care if you hate it, but I enjoy it. And I do also think in the future that a lot of people will come back to this album and appreciate the trap cuts here, because honestly, if you don't like this, it's because it's ahead of your time. Or it's because this music, we weren't ready for it yet, because I wouldn't be surprised if going forward we start to see other underground MCs hopping on gritty and elegant trap instrumentals like Westside Gunn did here. I think a lot of people were just disappointed that they didn't get the album they wanted and are taking their anger out on these trap beats, which isn't really fair. And I do think in the future these songs will be revisited with more with a cleaner lens. But yeah, Miguel the Plug produced this instrumental, another great example of Westside Gunn's curation, finding a producer like Miguel the Plug. I think Miguel the Plug does a great job of capturing the grit and elegance of Griselda and bringing it into the trap lane. I know some people weren't a big fans of his productions here, but I think he did a great job. Shout out him. Westside Gunn has a great menacing delivery here. He does great on the track. Rick Ross, a little more on the disappointing side, to be honest. Not disappointing, but it was a Rick Ross verse. It's what you expect. It wasn't anything over the top, blow your balls off, but It works for the song, it's good, and it's what Rick Ross does at this point in his career. We also got Disgusting, which features Gigs. This is another track that I think is a banger. I think it's cool to see, again, Westside Gunn crossing over into the grime scene, working with a rapper like Gigs, giving him some shine in the American light. Though Gigs is big already. He's been worked with Drake. It's not like Westside Gunn is putting on for Gigs. I am not saying that. But he is crossing over the Griselda sound into the UK, something we really haven't seen before. And again, he is just weaving together the culture, something that some people aren't taking into account when they listen to this album. Westside Gunn is weaving different parts of the culture together by having Gigs on a Griselda track. You are bridging audiences, you are creating something that doesn't exist. Ultra Griselda, another track I've seen people hate. This is another situation where if you don't like this song, it's just because you're mad that it's not something else. And like in theory, Denzel Curry and Westside Gunn could have made a way better track than this. I love this song. I think it's amazing. They could have made a way better track than this. But again, this is a song that works because you get this hard-hitting trap beat. And honestly, this isn't a very, elegant or anything trap beat. This is just a hard-ass beat. But this song, I think this is Griselda's theme music. It's just hard and menacing, and you got Denzel Curry giving the perfect introduction for Westside Gunn's verse. He's like his hype man, just hyping him up. My pocket's stupid, your pockets suffer. Denzel Curry's got his booming voice going. He's projecting, he's loud, he's menacing. And I love the chorus when he's hitting the West Side, throw it up. And you get Westside Gunn in the background yeah. Whenever I listen to this song, I imagine the two of them together performing this. I imagine fucking Denzel Curry walking down a ramp at a WWE fucking main event, and Westside Gunn's about to come out when the beat drops, because this is literally Westside Gunn entrance music. Of course, one of the biggest wrestling fans in hip-hop. This is a banger, and I bet this is probably Westside Gunn's favorite track on the album. It just hypes him up like a Don. We also get solid tracks like Stephen Jonies and Freddie J's, which are, again, good trap bangers. These are culturally significant songs to me because, like I was mentioning before, these are the songs that feature ESTG and Peasy, two prominent street rappers on the come up. I think both of them deliver exceptionally great performances on their songs respectively. ESTG on Steve and Joni is more slowed down than usual, and he's got some pretty good bars on this hard, menacing beat. But yeah, like I said, not only is he giving these artists a platform, a more mainstream platform, he is giving them a crossover into an audience that they probably don't normally, that most of their fan base probably isn't made up with, and he is giving them the chance to be respected and admired by hardcore hip-hop fans like myself and other people who are more into Westside Gunn lyrical rap. It's like Westside Gunn's like, hey, here are some maybe not, super lyrical monsters, but if we're talking that new trap wave, he's saying these are the rappers I fuck with, Be on the lookout for them. This also applies to Casey on And Then You Prayed For Me as well. I mentioned that before. You also got Mr. Everything with Jeezy, which I mentioned. This is another straightforward banger. Jeezy in the 2020s has been better than people I think would give him credit for or expect him to be. I haven't listened to his new double album that dropped, but his album he dropped last year with DJ Drama was a banger. He's had great features, and he has a great feature here as well. This isn't anything super, super crazy, but I really thought this was a cool intergenerational link up to see, especially because, and I feel like some people might come at me for this take, right? I feel like some people aren't going to be the biggest fans of this, but I feel like Jeezy is really who popularized and revitalized coke rap in the 2000s. And I know people are going to come at me, because Jeezy is one of the but he is a pretty prominent person in the early trap music scene. And of course he rapped about the typical trap things, which I would define as sex, money, drugs, that gangbanging life. That's what trap music is about. But Jeezy's nickname is literally Snowman, right? He's literally the Snowman. So a lot of his content matter. Any Jeezy song is probably specifically about him selling some cocaine. And I think without Yeezy popularizing that and making anthems, making hit songs like Seen It All, which is literally just about Jeezy and Jay-Z rap. Oh my God, it's literally about Jeezy and Jay-Z rapping and selling dope. And that was a mega hit. And I think without Jeezy doing that for the culture, I'm not gonna say we don't have Westside Gunn, but people these days would not have been as receptive towards his music because there were other coke rappers at the time. You of course had Clips, that was towards the end of their run, but Jeezy in the late 2000s, early 2010s was really on top of the game. LL Bull Gun, the final real trap song here. I get why people dislike this song. To me, it's fun, and I think Westside Gunn had fun making it. It's a cool little track, but if you don't like this, I don't fault you. The final track I want to talk about as being culturally significant, as being something new from Westside Gunn, being a significant layer in this article of clothing at Fashion Week. And we're talking about Chloe, of course. So many people hate this song. So many people love to hate this song. And I don't get it. This is Westside Gunn's best rendition of a love song probably ever. He, of course, you got French Toast off of Pray for Paris, and that's kind of a love song, love themes, but this is the most personal and intimate we have really ever seen a Westside Gunn. We get this beautiful, elegant instrumental. Westside Gunn is getting super romantic on the track, rapping about true love, how he would eat his girl out anywhere he asks him, rapping about how he wants to kill her. I mean, this is real fucking shit. I know some of you guys are probably sitting there laughing, thinking I'm satirizing this, but I'm not. Think about a track like Kanye West's I Thought About Killing Myself, right? What's he talking about on that track? I think about killing myself every day, and I love myself. Now think about what I'm gonna do for you. When he say I'm gonna kill you, he's not gonna kill Shorty, but he's saying he loves her. He loves her that fucking much, because you gotta be passionate about someone if you're gonna drop their ass like that. If you're gonna kill them, X them off the map, right? Ty Dolla $ign being on this track as well, an excellent inclusion. Two artists I never thought I'd see together. Getting Ty Dolla $ign over an instrumental like this was something I never knew I needed. His vocalizations are genuinely astounding, and lyrically he's not doing the best here, but it's really about the presence and vibe he brings to the track with his very soft-spoken, light-hearted delivery, his singing. Oh, this is, in my opinion, I'm gonna say this is my favorite song on the album. This is the best song. This is a 10 out of 10. If you don't like this, you just might not get it. Quite frankly, you might just not get it if you don't like this, because this is astounding art right here. This is this should be hung in a museum type shit. This whole album could be put in a museum. Now we get the other songs on the track list. Now I do want to specify this isn't a good and bad split up. We have some of the best songs on the album here too. The first half of songs I had a lot more to say about, and more that I wanted to say, because I feel like there's significant stuff about it. There's examples of Westside Gunn building and innovating and adding to the culture that I wanted to point out. Not that he's not doing that on these other songs. These are just the songs that you expect on the Griselda album. These are Westside Gunn songs that are textbook Westside Gunn songs, and there's nothing wrong with that. These are all great to amazing level songs. It's just, we knew these songs were coming. We gotta talk about Kitchen Lights, which honestly, we could say is a tie with Chloe for the best song on the album. They're both the two 10 out of 10 tracks on this record to me. It's really just because the beautiful instrumentals, guys. DJ Benoit brought pure elegance and luxury to life with the strings and piano on this instrumental. Westside Gunn gets personal on this song. He's rapping about his very rough upbringing, touching on the domestic violence he witnessed. And we also get a genuinely beautiful chorus from Stove God Cooks, one of his best on the album, where he is singing his little heart out about how the dope be shining underneath the kitchen lights. I would assume by how passionate he is on the song, it must look better than ever. Obviously, Stove God Cooks, his content matter is even more predictable than Westside Gunn's, but he has a lot of very great, zany, outlandish bars that I think make him one of the most exciting rappers coming up right now. But I mean, yeah, there's no way around it. Everybody unanimously agrees that this is the best song on the album. This is Westside Gunn excellence, one of the most beautiful instrumentals I've ever heard. Suicide and Selfridges is another production highlight where we get an excellent Conductor Williams instrumental. Conductor Williams, first of all, salute to him. When I started getting into his beats when Kiss the Ring by Rome Streets came out, I realized this guy's one of the best producers out right now. We also got to talk about Babylon Biss, which is another Westside Stove God link up where they are doing that coke gangsta trapping talk. Both do excellently over this light-hearted piano boom bap instrumental. This is one of the more softer instrumentals on this album. There's a lot of heavy dark, eerie energy, like I always say when I'm talking about Westside Gunn. But there's a very nice, light-hearted cadence and mellow vibe to this song that makes it stand out from the rest. It makes it a major highlight. We also get a cool spoken word verse from Keisha Plum at the end of the song. She is another poet slash spoken word artist that is signed to Griselda. She's always on Westside Gunn albums. She does a great job here, breaking up the pace, letting us appreciate the instrumental. Her verses are awesome. And Stove God and Westside, like I said, kill this shit. One of my favorite songs on the album for sure. Another major highlight is Revenge of Flip's Leg. We got another great conductor Williams beat here. It of course has the energy that you expect, the elegance, the sophistication. Amazing Rome Streets verse, as we've come to expect. Him and Westside Gunn do not miss. The two of them together are pretty fucking elite. Jalen Rose, another standard Griselda link up with a hard instrumental. It feels like there's danger lurking around every corner on this one. The drum pattern and the aggression it brings is very reminiscent of a song like Brick Mile to Montana to me. Another song that I love, Boldy and Westside. Again, they don't really miss. They kind of always kill it together. And finally, Fly God 2 Times, another great track here. There's no misses on this album to me. There's not a song that I'm skipping, despite the fact that there is weaker moments. It's just in comparison to the fact that this album is filled with great and amazing songs strictly. But yeah, I mean, I gassed this album up a lot. There was a lot I had to say. And honestly, I didn't talk about the music as much, but it's because with Westside Gunn at this point in his career, there's only so much to be said. Because as a rapper, he's not giving us much new, right? But as a visionary, as a curator, as an artist, he is giving us a lot. Like I said, he is giving us something deeply layered, one of the most culturally enriching albums of the year. Something, again, bigger than Westside Gunn. This is a avant-garde project. There is something bigger at work here. This isn't just another Westside Gunn album. This is, again, his representation of the culture and of his culture, in my opinion. And in terms of doing that, in terms of trying to fulfill that vision, I think he did a pretty great job. I'm done. At this point in rap, there is no point of making the comments, oh, this album could have been shorter. Fucking every album could have been shorter and been better. That logic, that argument is done. Because when we get a 21-song Westside Gunn album and a 21-song Offset album, it really does mean that the days of 15 and less song albums are really over, guys. And I got no problem with that. Let rappers get their money up. It's just how the industry is, and as listeners, we have to accept that. But yeah, at the end of the day, whether you love this album, whether you hate it, whether you were left disappointed, you feel like you were let on, you gotta give Westside Gunn respect for what he did and what he's been doing. He's been one of the best visionaries and curators in hip-hop for years, and I feel like it really came to fruition here, where he spent years building a culture and a movement of his own, and he took that culture here and intertwined it with mainstream hip-hop culture and other subgenres and sub-pockets of hip-hop music and culture, and he interwove it, intertwined it together in a way that definitely isn't perfect. It's far from perfect, but in a way that encapsulates Griselda really better than most other albums have, and also innovates their sound and the sound of hip-hop as a whole. And again, regardless if you don't love this album, that is something you have to appreciate Westside Gunn doing on this record. And Then You Pray For Me, I'm feeling an 8.3 out of 10. No, this is not my album of the year. I'll say maybe top 5. It's bordering on top 5 to 7 right now. Some people might say I'm overrating it. Maybe I'm glazing Westside Gunn a little bit. Leave that shit at the door. Leave that shit out of here, because yeah, I love Westside Gunn, one of my favorite rappers, this, that, and the other thing. But when an album that is great is critically panned and disrespected because people are disappointed, someone has to come through and correct those wrongdoings, make sure everything is justified. Because again, this is a great album, and even if you don't feel that way, appreciate that. Give Westside Gunn his flowers and stop hating. But yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Let me know how you're feeling this album in the comments. What's your favorite song? Because despite Kitchen Lights and Costa's and Mama's Primetime seeming like runaway favorites, and I don't think anyone's gonna debate them being some of the best songs on the album, there really is a lot of quality here. Underrated tracks like Babylon Biss, House of Glory, Chloe, of course. Which is your favorite? But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that stupid shit, guys. I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Peace.